What's up, George? What's going on in the House of Craze tonight?
In the House of Craze tonight, we have Mr. Kurt Sasso. He is a fellow podcaster. He's got a podcast called Two Geeks Talking, and we're going to be talking to him about his journey into the whole podcasting world that we share. We're going to be talking to him about that, and then we're just going to be, shooting the stuff, talking about what we're doing and what's going on in the next couple of weeks. All that fun stuff coming up next.
Let's get it.
Do it.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Catch the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the Dreamer, Medina, and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the Craze. If you are an independent, catch the Craze. Making moves on your own, catch the Craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the Craze. Join the movement, catch the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the Craze. Welcome to Catch the Craze podcast. I'm your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with
George, the Dreamer, Medina. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode of Catch the Craze. We are live on a Tuesday night, and we're doing this because our guest tonight, Mr. Kurt Sasso, was promoting the fact that he was going to be on the show tonight. And so we decided, you know what? We got to go live because originally we were going to pre-record it. But how bad would that have been if we would have pre-recorded?
I know.
He's telling everyone he's going to be live. So here we are. We are live with another episode. We're going to be live actually tomorrow night as well with a double-decker, double duty we're doing tomorrow.
Double duty.
Yeah, we got Rodney Fike and we got Mr. Sebastian Bonet tomorrow. What up, Mike? Michael Sammartino's in the house. But if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like, comment below, hit the bell so that you know when we are going live in the case that we do things like this, we just go live randomly. Exactly. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Big shout out to everyone who has already subscribed. We are on the road to 1,000, dude. Like, we're stalling. We're going forward. We take a couple of steps back.
Yeah, what's up with this? Yo, you gotta hold me back because I'm gonna go in on some of this.
I know, Sam, But yeah, we are, it's like this and then back and like this and back. So
yeah, man. Why you keep dipping on us, man? This is ridiculous.
Subscribe and stay with us.
We got nothing but love for the indie community, and you keep dipping on us. What's up with that?
It's a fun ride. Yeah, if you wanna know more about indies, listen. We had a great show last week. Mr. Sammartino was on the show last week with his
and check out what's in the box for Tech the Gods this Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday! Look at that.
I bought it back because I like Sammartino. So I bought it back because of Sammartino and because of Christian Alawas. So this Saturday, what's in the box? Tech the Gods number 3. Yeah, Next week, Saturday, what's in the box with Christian's Alawas art book. So check it out.
Weekend specials. What up, Grant Lankard? Big shout out to you.
House.
Yeah, Saturday. Big shout out to everyone who supports the channel. Sugar Cane, I'm supporting his product over here. Check it out. Go to his website. He's not a sponsor, but he is doing that. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out before we get into what we're doing, Sammy, to our friend Paul Hayden, who has ASAP Imagination. His 2-year anniversary is coming up at the end of the month. August 25th and 26th, I believe. He's got Anyone Comic-Con. And we try to play his something that he sent us, but it had music, which he did fix. And I don't know if he sent it to you yet, but yeah, we'll be airing that tomorrow. But yeah, check him out. Make sure you follow him. Make sure you go on his channel and check that out. And don't forget to check out Technogods and check out Saturday for the What's in the Box. What's in the Box.
Yeah. I mean, for me to come out of retirement, you got to be something special. you know. So I'm a fan.
Why
I'm a
did you
fan.
retire that? What happened? You got busy.
I'll tell you why I retired it.
Yeah, what
And
happened?
this is gonna be very controversial because I was doing What's in the Box featuring a lot of independent creators and they weren't even promoting it to their supporters. So I'm like, yo, I'm showing you love by trying to give you spotlight on your creation. And you're not even reposting it. You're not even promoting it. So I was like, you know what? Cancel culture. Cancel it.
Damn,
You know, so I know that
So
like Christian Alawas, I know that Michael Sammartino, they do their due diligence. They they show the love back. They go out and they promote it to their fan base. They're hustlers. So I was like, you know what? I'll come back for you.
Well, see, this is the thing. You ever heard the saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink? Like, we can showcase all of your work. We can build this channel and we can have, 617 people. Not that they watch it at the same time, but, they come in and out, watch your stuff. But if you're not promoting the fact that you're going to be on this show, nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know. So you definitely want to promote the fact that you're going to be on any show, dude, like on any show.
Because, when we promote any show that we do, we promote it on all the social media platforms that we're on.
Yeah,
so everybody who follows us, I mean, when you take all of my social media platforms and you put the head count collectively together, it's about 6,000 people. So, when we're promoting it, we're trying to get as many people to know about you. And when you can't return that favor and say, yo, I'm going to be on this show. Oh, yo, they just featured my book on this. Then what's the sense? Then what's going to happen is it's like, you know what? We've had you on the show before. You never promoted one time that you were on the show. What's in it for us? It's got to be a relationship. So why should we have you back on if you're not going to do your part?
Yeah. So that's why it was retired, huh? Now we know.
That's why I was retired. I was like, you know what? I feel
so
like,
it's going to be so What's in the Box is going to be exclusive now.
It's going to be exclusive.
Very exclusive.
Yeah.
Only if you promote shall you have your book reviewed on What's in the Box.
I'm gonna take an hour out of my day to shine a light and show you love. I expect that love in return. It's like it reminds me of that one chick in high school that you're buying flowers for and candy and all that stuff, and she's ignoring the hell out of you until you finally realize, yo, she's not into me, right? It's the same thing. She's going on a date with you, eating up the food and ordering on the menu. I'll have this. Doesn't take your calls. I'm like, oh hell no.
Wow. Only VIPs. That's right, Mike. Only VIPs. Yes, I'm going into a dark place. You know what movie I saw recently? We were talking about this before.
It's going into a dark place. It's probably because I'm hanging out with
the beer muscles. Listen, man. So I just recently watched There's Something About Mary.
Hey.
And you're talking about girls in high school. And it just reminded me about how good that movie was, bro. And I think I was too young to understand how funny that movie actually was.
Oh, I laughed when I was a kid.
Of course. Listen, you can't put that movie out today. I mean, there's a lot of things and a lot of jokes in there.
You can. You seen what they did with Suicide Squad?
Nah.
On HBO?
The Warren character and the character who's in the braces, who's faking that he's in the braces, like that kind of stuff. I don't know how it would do today. I don't know how it would do today. I don't know. I'm just saying. What do you guys think?
You can. I mean, what John Cena did on the Suicide Squad on HBO Max. I mean, that's the stuff that was coming out of his mouth and all this stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, that's more like, he was just cursing up a storm. But and There's Something About Mary. You're laughing at, Warren, and you know what I mean?
Hey, look, I think you got to be able to. You got to be able to take a joke. You got to have a sense of humor. You got to be able to, not take everything so seriously. That's it.
I'm just saying. Watch the movie again. You tell me. Watch the movie again.
Anyway, but I do want to say, I do want to say I'm out in this show was in dedication to my little boy that passed away yesterday.
Yeah.
My D'Artagnan. I love that kid to death. I went to an estate sale in New Jersey with my wife in 2018. We went to the estate sale because they were selling these outdoor furniture, patio furniture.
Yeah.
And the value of that retail value was huge. And we were going to save a whole lot of money by getting this stuff. And he was outside in the front of the house as people were going in and out of this estate sale. And I saw him and I fell in love with him. I said, I'm taking you home. And that was in my head, right? I fell in love with him. So happens that the owners the owners were moving to Florida and they weren't taking him. They raised him as a baby, but because he had serious medical conditions and he was a senior citizen, senior dog, they weren't going to take him. And I was like, well, I'm taking. I don't care what kind of medical it is. I don't care what it is. I'm taking him. And we took him, and the doctors didn't think he was going to have more than a year. And we had him since 2018. Changed his diet, put him on medication, and he was just amazing. I had corny song that I would sing to him, and he loved it. And he would wag his tail every morning. He'd wake me up at 6 in the morning. Ruff, ruff. I put my feet on the floor. He started licking my shins. I walk him outside. We had a routine. Yesterday, everything was fine. He was barking at my niece, and then he collapsed. And it was the most devastating, traumatic experience for me because nothing I did can save him. I tried CPR, I tried everything, but I didn't realize that his heart also gave out, and he had fluid in his lungs, and they said it's because his heart wasn't pumping blood anymore. And it was yesterday was I was a broken man. It was I had to drive him to the vet. I had to leave him his body with the vet. It was tough, but you know, for every time they didn't think he was going to make it to Texas, the long trip, they didn't think, and each time I think he was surviving on love. But you know, I love that kid. His name was D'Artagnan of the Three Musketeers. To my right now, he would be sitting there. Because all my dogs are sitting underneath me right now as I'm recording this. He would be sitting by the window. He had his favorite spot. Everybody knew he couldn't run, but he would always think he could run because he would try to move. But one of my steps was him running.
Yeah.
But all I can say is, look, the animals are innocent. Please treat them kindly. They love you unconditionally. Don't leave them behind. Take care of them. And if you can't, find somebody who's going to do right by them. There's too many people that are just being real cruel to animals out there. The love that they have for you does not compare to any kind of love a human will have for you. It's unconditional. There's no judgment. They just love you for your flaws, for everything you are. And that I hope, wherever we go in the universe, whatever happens after this, that we meet again. And just D'Artagnan, this one's for you.
Yeah, man. D'Artagnan. I met the little guy, man. He was a happy little guy.
Thank you, bud.
No, my big shout out. Hannah, I guess, was talking about quid pro quo, this for that, and she was talking to me regards to what we were talking about before.
Yes.
About that. But yeah, no, listen, man, losing a pet and the way he passed, Sam, like it was devastating in your arms, and it's tough, man, because these are your children. These are your children.
And the body. That when I knew it was when I realized it was his heart is because his body started releasing everything. Like, fecal matter came on me. He was urinating on me. It was the whole time. And I didn't care. I tried everything that I knew how to do and it just wouldn't work. But that in itself, when you see the tongue turn purple, when you see the eyes dilate, that is traumatic because you feel helpless.
No.
So
there was nothing you could do for the guy. Damn, man, yes.
But so yesterday, with Captain Morgan and myself, we hung out together, and we just I cried like a 12-year-old kid all night last night. It was horrible, but I'm glad again. I'm glad I had videos, I had photos, I had the memories, and even that morning, we still had the same routines, and and no matter how many times I sang that corny song to him, he would shake his tail and he'd bark at me with the corny song. I said, hey, Dart loves the songs that everybody on the internet thinks is corny, but hey, you know what? He's unconditional.
He was wagging that tail. He's like, I love this idiot. I love it.
He's so goofy, but he's my goofy.
It's like, I love this. Oh man, no, yeah, definitely, bro.
But on a positive,
No, I was gonna say I can almost imagine you sounding like you remember that scene in Rocky 3 when Mickey dies and Rocky's on top of him, like yelling like a wounded animal. Woo! He's like doing that. That's what I pictured you like last night.
What was rough was driving him because he looked like he was sleeping, right? And so I'm driving him to the vet by myself, and it's about a half-hour drive, and I kept looking to thinking, did he move? did he get a recharge? I kept looking, and even when I picked them up to take him in, and it was interesting because my cats, when they passed, they were stiff and hard,
Oh,
like
geez.
like like hard, but he was limp, like there was you know it was like almost as if there was no more bones in his body. He was just limp. And so that was different for me. And he was still warm. With the cats, they turn cold and hard, which I don't understand why the difference, but that was the tough part, just the long drive there, and then sitting in the parking lot. And then I just pulled into, because I haven't had a drink in like since March. But I was like, you know what? I need one. I need a bottle. And I got some iced tea and lemonade, and I just mixed it with the Captain Morgan's, and
Damn, fool was
and I
going
buzzed.
in last night. You still got some of that
Yes,
concoction?
yes. But on a
Ooh,
positive note, I just want to say thank you, because as of this morning, there was 40 people who signed up to the campaign, but as of right now, 44 people have signed up to the Kickstarter.
that's
So
what's
thank you
up.
so much. I appreciate your support so much. This campaign for There's an Alien in My Toilet is going to be the biggest one yet. It's a double header. If you haven't signed up, please do help me make history with Duty. This is going to be dope. And if you do sign up, let me know that you did. Send me your email, and I'll send you this digital print of Duty's Monsters on Planet Cthulhu. Because this campaign also has a second story, full color, 24-page story of Duty's Monsters on Planet Cthulhu, it's available as a stretch goal to be added on when unlocked. And that's a 3-spread cover. You can get the single cover, which is King Cthulhu in the center, or all 3 simultaneously. But this campaign is going to be it's fire. I just finished doing page 18 of Duty's Monsters. I want to have the sample ready for the live launch on the 20th. Join us for the launch. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a couple of raffles. And it's I'm telling you, this is the best one yet. Also, for Duty issue number 3, I Chihuahua, because Duty finally gets into the house. There's also a variant cover. Here's Duty, an homage to The Shining. So that's going to be available on the campaign as well. This one is it's going to be crazy.
Nice. Yeah.
What is the George's spinner on that
Yeah.
Duty Western?
It looks like it on
Oh,
the
yes,
wall,
right,
right?
right.
It
That's
looks
right.
like it on the wall. I knew it. See,
That's
I
right.
wasn't the
The
only one who
spinner.
thought so. That's right. They were spinning even back in the day, bro. That's what
I
they did.
know.
They would do. They were spinning the spinner. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, this campaign looks like it's gonna be cool, man. Make sure that on September 20th, you guys, make sure you log on and
Yes.
check us out live because we're gonna be doing this live at what, at 8 o'clock, right? Or what time are you coming on?
We're gonna be doing live 7:30, like last
Right.
time.
Oh, okay. Sammy wants to be launched. What time are you launching?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, so
All
we're
right.
gonna launch at 8, but we're gonna go on at 7:30 live.
Sweet. Yeah. So make sure
Um,
you come on and check it out. Check it out for
yes.
sure.
And
For
then
sure.
if you are in Texas next week, join me at the Arlington Comic Fest. I will be at booth number 25 in Artist Alley, and I'll be there, and so will Duty, and we're going to be having some fun, and we're going to be signing copies of the books and doing some commission art. So join me there, and then the week after, I will be at the Denton Comic Art Festival and Expo, Comic Art Expo. Yes, at Denton, and so that's going to be dope as well. And then also Kickstarter news. Tomorrow the books arrive. So issue number 2 Kickstarter. So if you backed issue 2, the books arrive to me tomorrow. I start packing everything. All depends on what time they show up tomorrow. So if it shows, usually UPS doesn't come till 5. So Thursday, Friday, I'll be packing, and Saturday I'll be going to the post office to ship everything out.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Yes. And you guys should be getting all of my stuff now that I had to resend everything back out from everything that was returned to sender. So you guys should be getting the stuff for the Adventures of Wonder Duck in your mailbox coming soon. Digital
Or,
copies are also coming soon with all of the stretch goals that I promised you with all those other comics. So you guys should be getting that within the next couple of weeks. And that'll be that. But also, I just wanted to give a big shout out to Mr. Mark Torres, who has a campaign out right now. He's going to be on the show August 17th, talking about his book Designated. So if you haven't done so yet, please go to Kickstarter and check out his book. I did the lettering for the book, so make sure you check that out. Support the book, support us, support indies. I'm also busy doing a bunch of other lettering. I got lettering going on for you, Sammy, for
yeah.
Is Nearly My Toy number 3. I got Mr. Sebastian Bonet. I'm doing some lettering for his Concrete Combat book that he's going to be talking to us
Question
about
Bonnet.
tomorrow. And I also have something that I'm working on with Mr. Anibal Arroyo. He's working on a comic for somebody, not his own book. It's somebody's comic book that he's working on. So that's coming out soon. So there's a lot of stuff. We're doing a lot of things, and
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
busy. We're being busy. We're being good because we're being busy.
And don't forget, join us tomorrow night. We have a double header. We have Rodney Fike talking about Roadkill Rampage and at 7. And then we have Sebastian at 8 o'clock. And then don't forget, every Thursday morning, join us for the Morning Brew with the Crazy Crew, episode number 24. And one of the topics is going to be a continuation of the Crazy Channel S. Everybody is an expert, but what does that make you? So that's going to be an interesting topic on top of everything else. So you have anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think we've covered everything we have going on right now.
Cool beans. So we're going to run to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to bring in our guest, Mr. Kurt Sasso, and we're going to be talking about all things geek. So stand by. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Catch the Craze, there's a reason why you shouldn't. Listen to our previous guests.
It's Monty Moore. I'm a 30-year comics veteran in comics, games, and movies, and you've been watching one of my absolute favorite podcasts, Catch the Craze.
You are watching Catch the Craze.
What am I listening to?
And you're listening to Catch the Craze.
Where are all the indies at?
A Catch the Craze podcast.
What are you watching?
I'm watching Catch the Craze.
What are you going to do?
Subscribe now to Catch the Craze, the #1 show online for independent.
Have you subscribed to?
If you are an independent, catch the craze. Making moves on your own, catch the craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the craze. Join the movement, catch the craze.
What's up, Mr. Sasso?
There it is, Mr. Kurt Sasso. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, guys. Hey, I gotta say that commercial break was fire. I thought it was solid, guys. I thought it was really cool.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It means a lot from a fellow podcaster. For those who are watching, this is Mr. Kurt Sasso. He has a show called Two Geeks Talking, where you interview creators, right? And comic book artists. Tell us a little bit about the channel before we even get into you.
Yeah, so it's an entertainment industry interview show. We just celebrated our 15th year actually yesterday.
Congratulations!
So I had a live stream just talking about the history of the show, and we've interviewed webcomic people, comic people, actors, actresses, directors. Pretty much, if you think of entertainment, we've pretty much done everything. It's pretty crazy.
Good for you, man.
That is fantastic. That's fantastic. So, for anybody who hasn't heard of you or Two Geeks Talking, give us a little history about yourself.
Well, the story goes this. Back in 2008, I was helping a friend of mine create a webcomic database which was on webcomics.com. And he said to me during a WoW raid way back when, he was saying, do you like webcomics? I'm like, well, yeah, I do. So he sent me a list of over 4,000 webcomics. And I was like, man, it would be awesome if we could interview these people, because back in 2008, that was like the heyday of webcomics right there. It's still good, but back then, that was the top echelon. Oh, yeah. And so he said, go ahead. So I had no knowledge of how to podcast or how to do interviews or anything like that. And I was a severely introverted person. And I decided to just jump in feet first, found a free host for podcasting and had my first interview. And for like 2 or 3 years, we were doing 2-hour interviews with amazing and talented and creative people. So yeah, it was a good time.
Awesome. Were you into comics as a kid? Like what was your childhood growing up like?
Not really. No, I was into video games more than anything. I was a computer geek before I was a comic geek. So I never really had access to Marvel or DC or anything like that. So webcomics actually was my original foray into independent comics. So I have a soft spot for anyone that's independent and that creates amazing comics like yourselves, both of you as well too, and everyone that's been on the show. And it's more entertaining and more engaging to see someone that can either draw and write comics and just post it themselves and have no guidelines and no restrictions and just be, free to promote what they're creating. And I think it's awesome. So I've always loved webcomics, and I'll still do webcomics till the day I die. Probably.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. It's funny that you mentioned how that was like the heyday, '08, like in that era, like that time frame, I guess, when comics, and then and then they started trying to, making them, just animate them a little bit and stuff like that. What were some of the web comics that you were reading back then? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I still remember, because they were, I think, a staple of everyone for that matter. I think it was Penny Arcade, PvP, what else? Mega Tokyo was a big one for me as well too. Questionable Content was still going on back then. It still is ongoing. Girl Genius Online, a bunch of others. I'm sure that I'm forgetting a ton as well too. But a lot of great friendships have spawned from not only the interviews, but seeing them at comic conventions and everything like that as well too. I thought it was, web comic creators and comic creators in general are just some of the most personable people that you're ever going to meet, and they just have so many amazing stories.
What has the evolution of web comics been as you've seen throughout the years? Like the people that, for example, that you interviewed, what have they got into? Have they continued their web comic, or did they transfer that into maybe something that was printed and sold at conventions? What was the evolution of that?
The evolution was, you had to have a website first off. You had to have ads. You had to be part of a web ring, for those that remember web rings. You had to be promoting yourself constantly through linking back to every other comics. And when social media like Twitter and like Facebook and MySpace and GeoCities was closing down, and things were, how technology has evolved, I think people have gotten smarter with how they're promoting it, because you don't need a website anymore these days, although it still helps, I think, in this day and age. But I think the ability to promote through short videos, the ability to promote directly to people on social media has really been a game changer. The less reliance on advertising has been a huge factor, and not out of circumstance, but because ads just don't generate the traffic like they used to. So people have evolved their style of advertising to be very unique. Like, take your commercial, for example, in between the interview. I think that's one prime example of showing past guests and showing them promoting your channel and showcasing, hey, I had a great time on this show. I want to promote it. Here's how I do it.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And so you started podcasting. Was it always Two Geeks Talking, or did that change? What was the name of the show? Oh, has it always been that?
No, actually the very first name of the show was TGT Webcomics. So it was actually two guys talking webcomics.
Oh, okay.
And a good friend of mine, Phil, aka Frump, was my host / co-host for a good 60 episodes, and he went on with life and did other amazing things. He's still an amazing programmer in his own right as well too, for website development. And so I continued on the show, and it went from two guys talking to TGT Media, which is kind of like the parent name of everything that I've produced, to two geeks talking ended up being my kind of finalized name that kind of just had a good roll off the tongue. Phrase.
No, absolutely. And you know what, with what you do now, I mean, the name still works. Like Two Geeks Talking still works, because for the most part it'll be you one-on-one with somebody having a conversation. So it still does in fact work. As far as podcasting, I mean, listen, Sam, the story goes that we started this podcast way back in the day, before podcasting was even cool.
Yeah.
For you started in '08. What have you seen has been the biggest change in podcasting since you began?
I don't think a lot has changed. The only thing that's changed is the accessibility, because you used to have to go to a single host of some kind. You used to have to either host it yourself and then promote it through CSS feeds and everything like that, or you had to be able to have your podcast linked to Apple. The Apple podcast store site, whatever it is, to get your name out there. Now with amazing sites like Spotify and other streaming services like that, it's opened up a whole new avenue for showcasing your show. You can have it attached to 5 different streaming sites, and you have 5 times the reach like you used to. I think in my heyday, the most downloads we had was over 150,000 in a year.
Wow.
And that was between 2008 and 2011, I think.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had that conversation, George and I, because back then, that's what we were seeing when we first launched back in 06. And it didn't understand it, right? It's like, wow, that's cool. A lot of people listening, right? But we didn't understand it. We didn't understand about long-term monetization. We none of that stuff. And in hindsight, after we walked away for a decade, coming back, the game changed so much because it's oversaturated and all the other stuff. So now it's a bigger. There's a lot more people in the ocean. So it's pretty fascinating. So what kept you going?
Stubbornness. I think for me, it was a cross between stubbornness and the fact that I put so much time into the show, and the fact that I had put so much time into making connections with creative people, and the fact that I like to talk to people. Back when I first started, I didn't really know what my voice was, or I didn't know, if what I was producing or if who I was talking to was reaching the masses. I've evolved as an interviewer, as a host. I've evolved in terms of my questions. I think I've evolved as a person in 15 years, hopefully, as well too. I mean, I'm still a geek any way you cut it, but I think the quality of guests and the fact that a lot of people that have come on the show are more than willing to kind of dive a little more deeper into themselves as a creative person is more entertaining than it has been in a very long time. And as creative as I can be with a show like this, as creative as you can be as a host and an interviewer, it's the guests that really drive what exactly you're trying to showcase and you're trying to tell, because we can ask the questions. It's up to them to provide the answers and provide the stories of their lives.
Sure. No, absolutely. You mentioned something. You said finding your voice, right? As an interviewer, as a show, whatever. Do you have a show or a moment when you were like, that's what it's going to be?
Episode 61 for me.
Nice.
And I can say this absolutely clearly because it was a turning point for myself, because I had always had Phil with me as a co-host, or I'd always had someone with me in terms of being a co-host, and for me to embark on this solo, and it's not to say I was solo all the way. I've had, I think, over 75 guest co-hosts. Some of them are on repeat over that 4-year span initially while I was still doing podcast. And I found that with episode 61, which was Laura Ennis is the creator of the Dreamer comic, but she also, more currently, has done Wyatt Earp. She did the comic for Wyatt Earp, and she worked with the showrunners in that regard as well too. And she's done a lot of other work as well too. And her historical knowledge of the American Civil War and that type of knowledge is vast and amazing in her right. And she's just an awesome person. But she was my first guest in a one-on-one style interview, being solo, and it was a good conversation. I got to ask questions. I got to really dive into her creative process. I got to see a little bit more than I had in previous interviews with her. And that just gave me a great spark in terms of, I can do this as a host. I can do this as an interviewer. I can keep the show going one interview at a time, and just keep asking my questions and keep getting the guests that I've had on. And it's been a wonderful ride so far.
That's so cool, man. Could you see yourself like having a co-host again, or have you done so many shows now as solo? You're like, nah, I think I got this on my own.
Look, I'd love to have a co-host again, even if it's just a guest spot for someone that wants to interview a mentor of theirs or a fan favorite of theirs. I'd love to do that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Am I holding open auditions? Not just yet, but hey, if someone wants to approach me and say, "Oh, I see you have so and so upcoming, I'd like to be a co-host," yeah, sure. Let's have you on. Let's have a quick test, and let's see how the chemistry goes, and come on the show and talk to your heart's content.
Yeah.
So when you initially said I want to podcast, what was the learning curve with regards to equipment and technology? Was there a learning curve? What was that initial startup like?
When you have computer knowledge and geek knowledge of that extent, you think, oh yeah, I can do anything. This is awesome. This is going to be so easy. Research, what's that? I don't need to do anything like that whatsoever. No, it was a huge learning curve. The equipment aside, so we were using TalkShoe as our initial host because they had free hosting, and while their audio quality was horrible, and I'm using that politely, it was god awful. When you have 64 hertz audio and you're trying to do a Skype call that is basically downgrading your call from 128 down to 64, it gets even worse. So I didn't realize that for the first 10 or so episodes until I actually listened to the interviews, and it was like, oh my God, this is brutal. And then equipment as well. Like, what's a good microphone? What was something that I needed? Could I just use a simple basic microphone that I bought off for $20? Would that make things work? I think I had a desktop mic that plugged into the audio jack or whatever, that had the really wonky cords that only had like a little bit of flexibility back in the day. So it was ones that you got with like your old computers or whatever. But I ended up getting an Audio-Technica AT2020 I used that for a good number of years, and that had a great sound and great bass to it. And then I evolved to a Rode and everything like that as well too. But technology was a huge learning curve for me in terms of the audio sphere. And then understanding that the longer you went, the more out of sync audio went as well too. I didn't realize that factor. There was sometimes the calls would be disconnected and we would have dead air. And then, because back then you weren't really editing. You were just simply getting the interviews and posting it, and everything was just a live podcast. And it was just, let's get the content out as much as we can. And I started the show back in 2008 when Joe Rogan and Mark Maron started their podcast. They've done fairly well for themselves, and I am where I am. So, I'm not a comedian.
What's funny is that I went to a pod camp.
Oh yeah.
And that's when cooks were doing podcasting show, right? And so it was being introduced as this is going to be the next craze, right? So I went to a pod camp at the New Yorker Hotel, and I sat in on every panel. I took notes. And then I remember Comic Geek Speak and iFanboy were the two biggest podcasters for comic books, but they were all mainstream comics that they were focusing on. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I said, yeah, Judge, we're doing podcasting. I went to Sam Ash, and I walked in. I said, look, I need a mixer. I need to do podcasting, and I need something USB that can connect to my USB port. So I got a mixer, I got 4 mics, the whole bit. And then I remember my traditional webcam, I didn't like the quality. So when we decided to do video, I would use camcorders and connect them. But not only that, because of Skype issues, I decided to get, those conference rooms, phones for the conference room that looked like a starfish.
Yeah.
I got it on eBay. Because they're almost $1,000 or more. I got it on eBay for like $100, and I used that, and I had people just calling my home number, and that's how. So we had great quality because of all those things that I learned at PodCamp, all those issues. And it's funny in the beginning, I just it's a learning curve, but it's also exciting when you're starting to do something that's new.
Yeah.
So you get the equipment. How did you go and seek out your guests?
I think for me, because we originally had a database, we had email addresses, and we got lucky with that because if we didn't have their email addresses or the contact and we just had their URLs of their websites, I would go to their websites, I would find their about page, I would find their email address, and I would cold email, literally. And if they got back to me, great. I'd set up a schedule an interview. I'd do it through TalkShoe. I'd send them the link, and we would just get it going and go from there. And then when Twitter came around, it really, well, it was actually, I think it was ongoing during that time as well too, if I recall correctly. It's been a while, but I would ask people through Twitter, and that's always been my primary way of connecting with creative people, because they're more active in that sense. And while other social media has come and gone and has been more towards the forefront, like TikTok is currently, and everything like that, I think if you can still get a one-on-one connection and approach these people with a quality content and service, like a show like yours and like what I've put together as well too, I think that they see what you've done and they're more willing to become a guest, whether they're introverted or not. And I think it's been a testament that if you can keep your content consistent and your questions consistent and keep it open concept to the guests themselves so that they're free to speak with whatever they would like to speak creatively, then it just adds to your clout. If people still say that, I'm not sure.
So Kurt, I have a 2-part question here.
Sure.
So part 1 is, what has been your favorite part about doing the show? And then part B is, what has been the worst part about doing the show?
Doesn't matter what order I say it in?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Worst part is the editing. Look, I love editing, don't get me wrong, but it's a very time-consuming process. It is not something I thoroughly enjoy. And the fact that I'm only one person doing it is it's all on me, plain and simple. Everything's on me. The promotion, the editing, everything like that. Look, I love it and I hate it. It's a love-hate relationship that I will always have, even though it's part of my actual professional career as well too. And so that's what I hate. And what the first part was, what do I love about it?
Yeah.
Talking to a new person every day, every week, whenever I'm scheduled an interview, because unless they've been on the show in the past, it's someone new, it's someone exciting, it's someone different than who I've had in the past. And while I love repeat guests, don't get me wrong, I love to see their progress. I love to see what they're doing in the next year or the next few months, or Sam, we got to get you back on as well too, and of course George as well, get you both on, because I know, George, you're going to be on the show.
Yeah, I think I'm scheduled for the 20th.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you about your progress as well. But the new people that I've never interacted with, I think is amazing. And it's the same with going to comp conventions. You walk down Artist Alley, and there's a new person at every turn, and it's amazing to see what they're doing, because while art evolves and while manga and comics merge together to form amazing new creative processes, while animation is becoming a thing, while virtual reality is becoming a thing, AI art as well apparently is now a thing that is kind of scary in its own right, but amazing too. I think it's just, if you meet new people, you're going to stay excited with what you do.
Absolutely. So what was you're a gamer, right? You're a geek at heart. You decided you want to go in and podcast. When did you find your creative voice? When did you find your rhythm? Right? Because it takes a while to really get into a flow. Because I think initially, at least for me, when we first started, I was just excited that we created the show and we were going to have guests on, right? And so it took a minute for us to build a formula. How long did it take you, and when did you realize, what, I got it, now I have momentum, I feel most confident now?
2010 is when I went to my very first comic convention. I know as a geek, that's probably sounds sacrilegious.
That was the next question. What was your first comic? Yeah, go ahead.
so it's kind of, this ties in actually.
Right.
Good friend of mine, Byron Wilkins, who does 1977, the comic, which is about sex, drugs and rock and roll, not in that order. Talented guy, amazing guy. I met him through an interview as well, and he created the Webcomic Alliance with a bunch of people, and I was part of that for a while as well too, as a co-host. Long story short, he said, look, I'm in Chicago, we got C2E2 coming up, it's a brand new comic convention, you want to do video interviews, come to C2E2, I'll put you up, you won't have to worry about a hotel, we'll drive in, get you going, and get you interviewed, or get you interviews, I should say. Amazing convention. I was there for 4 years, the first 4 years actually of the actual show itself, and it was amazing, leaps and bounds. But it was when I got to interview people like Max Brooks, the author who did Z for Zombie, or when I got to interview Jill Thompson. Of course, Sandman is now on Netflix, which is an amazing show in its own right. But I got to interview her about her creative process while her fans were just waiting there while I was doing a 15-minute interview. Ramon Perez, who at that time was doing the Jim Henson book. That was the last manuscript of Jim Henson, and I got to interview him before CNN. Little things like that. Yeah, trust me, that's still a feather in my cap after all this time.
Yeah.
I beat CNN for an interview,
Right.
And so it was. I started to find my voice, and I did 200 interviews, literally 200 video interviews in a 4-day span.
Wow.
Video interviews.
Holy cow.
How did you not lose your voice?
I cut my questions down to like 5-minute interviews.
Right,
Or I
okay.
tried to, at least, but they went like 15 minutes. But it was an amazing experience, and because of that experience, it got me into Fan Expo Canada in Toronto. It got me as press there, and I did another 150 interviews, I think, in a 3-day span of that convention. And so I'd already built in under 4 months over 350 interviews.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and so that's when YouTube came along, and that's when I started putting up an old channel that I had to transfer to this new channel, and that's a whole other story. But yeah, that's kind of where I started to really find my voice, was doing the video interviews. So it's all thanks to Byron.
Yeah, wow. So how did you work that? Did you have somebody come around with a video camera, or did you kind of do that all on your own? Like, how did that work?
So I finagled a friend of mine, because he's a geek as well too, because we have to finagle our friends into helping us. I was like, hey Mike, you want to come on down to Chicago? If you drive us there, we'll split the hotel or whatever, and you hold the camera, press record. I'll do the interviews through a really crappy Sony audio microphone. My God, it was awful, but it was just. That's who helped me for my first couple of conventions, and a good long-term friend who we still have geek debates about comics and everything like that as well too.
I love it. Do you still go to conventions and do these video interviews? Is that still a thing you do? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I still do it. It's a little more difficult. I have a monopod that I just hook the camera on, and my camera's upgraded over the years as well too, and I have a nice microphone as well, a Zoom microphone, and so it's more of a quicker process now that I'm understand my flow and my format these days, and it really comes back to just finding your own path and make it as entertaining as you can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's cool. Where are you going to be next? What convention do you have anything planned out, or no?
I don't know. Honestly, because of the pandemic, it's kind of difficult in general. There is a local con in Windsor where I currently am at. Can't talk well, and I think it's in October, end of October, I think. So we'll see if I can get into that. But I've been doing the podcast and the show. I've been doing mainly video interviews these days because it's been easier online, and I'm able to kind of produce and release. I have an actual schedule release now these days,
right?
Every Friday on the YouTube channel. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's the what the pandemic did was it allowed us to do more of these, video interviews, via whether it's Zoom or now StreamYard is the thing. That has helped us a lot. Do you find that you've managed to do more? Obviously, you did 200 in like 2 days. Are you doing more interviews now that you don't have to be, going to different conventions?
Yeah, pretty much. I got very fortunate. Twitter decided to let one of my posts actually see the light of the day, I think. And so I had to be fair, when you do a post and you only get 1 or 2 likes and you get no traction whatsoever, it's disheartening to say the least. But the fact that I was like, look, here's my Calendly link. I have open schedules, find what works for you and have at it. Schedule yourself. Look, it's just the easiest way to do things currently as of this interview. Sure. It got to the point where I was booked until October of this year. I'm now booked into most of November, I think. And because of the demand, I had to open up a second show called Two Geeks Talking Rapid Fire, which is literally a shortened 50-minute, here's 11 questions. Let's bang out your answers and let's get it released the same day because I'm glutton for punishment. So that's
incredible. Yeah, holy God! I remember when we spoke. I think we spoke. It must have been like in March, or maybe earlier. Because I remember I was trying to get on some shows because I was doing like a Kickstarter in May. And you were like, George, honestly, I only have till
I'm sorry.
I have August, bro. I was like, damn. I was like, all right, cool. Let's do August then. So yeah, no. So I know the demand is definitely there, man. So congratulations. That is big. That is.
I appreciate it. No, thank you. And it's look, I have to thank the people that signed up. I have to thank the people that want to showcase their work on the show. That's truly why I'm fortunate about doing this, because people want to be interviewed and want to showcase their talent. I'm just a platform to do it. And if they want to come back, by all means, please do. You know, I love seeing creative people that are way more creative than myself.
Is there one specific guest that you were really excited about, but also nervous about?
Yeah, Phil Folio. Very first time he came on the show, he came on twice, and I do have to get him back on the show. It's been a while since he's been on. Episode 10, and then he came back for episode 37. But episode 10 was the very first time we had a big name on the show, and Phil Folio is a big name. For those that don't know him, creative girl genius, but you know him from Magic Gathering, you know him from a variety of amazing comics and art from the 80s and 90s and even to this day now. I mean, when you have a career that spans over 40 some odd years, I mean, you're just truly a legend in the making, for that matter. And I was nervous because, you know, we had just done 10 interviews or 9 interviews. He's our 10th. A big name like that coming on a little show, TGT Webcomics of all things, like, is this a hoax? You know, but no, emails aside, it was just a wonderful thing. And so the interview is no longer online, but I do plan on bringing back the old archive, the old podcast. So that'll be a treasure trove of past interviews, I'm sure. And I squeed when I was introducing him, and Phil stopped before he even said, thanks for having me, Jeff. He's like, did you squee? I go, yes, I did. He goes, awesome. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm Phil Folio. Nice to meet you. You know.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
That's fantastic. So what's your long game?
That's a good question. Because of being demonetized on YouTube back in 2016, 18, whenever that was, you know, the show's free. It's difficult. I had to start a Patreon. I had to find ways to promote that way as while still maintaining, you know, the quality of the show itself as well. I mean, do I plan on doing this for another 5 years? You know, 20 sounds like a good number. Do I plan on quitting after that? Probably not, but we'll see. Who knows what happens in 5 years? But that's sort of my long game, I guess. I'm not sure.
Right. And so what makes a great guest on your show? What makes a great conversation?
People that are willing to talk about themselves. And I know that's difficult for many people, because I think 90% of creative people are so severely introverted that they have a hard time talking.
Yeah.
And the only way to get a person comfortable is to talk with them. And so, you know, if I have 15 minutes ahead of time before the interview goes live, I like to just chat in the green room. I like to make them comfortable. I like to, you know, probe them and just trying to see exactly, you know, what their mindset is like during our interview or during their day, because, you know, maybe they're having a bad day. Let's keep it light. Let's keep it, you know, focused on the creative process. What are they passionate about, and how can I bring that out during the interview? And it doesn't work all the time, but you know, for the most part it does. And, you know, I love having them back on, but you can't keep everyone from being introverted, and nor do I want to. And I want to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. But if they can speak about themselves and about their, or at least the creative work, you know, why they created their comic or their art, or, you know, why did they get published through X publisher or whatever, what was that experience like? Things that bring them joy, then that's a good starting point.
Right. So about you, what do you worry about with regards to your show? What keeps you up at night?
That's deep. I might have to use that. You're giving me ideas, Sam. You're giving me ideas. Although you've been on my show, you know the introspective questions I ask.
Yeah.
Yes. We've had a fascinating conversation. Absolutely.
Very true. What keeps me up at night? That's difficult. I think my energy. How long can I keep doing this? How long can I, keep guests coming on the show? How long can I financially maintain it? That's kind of my current focus right now. That's difficult because I hate asking for help.
Right.
It's not how I was raised. It's not how I like to do things. I like to do everything myself, as much as it's a detriment, I think, to my creative process sometimes, but it's because I like to be able to, I have a vision. I have a vision of how the interview goes. I have a vision of how to make the people that are on the show creative and how to showcase them in the best way possible. So from an editing perspective, that's what I like to do. But for me, it's a finance game right now. How long can I keep the show going at its current rate? How long can I maintain my quality standards? And I'll get through it. It's just a roadblock. It's not like it's going to stop me from doing it, but it's there. It's a wall that I have to either break through or I have to climb over.
So if the Kurt Sasso of today had an opportunity to meet the Kurt Sasso 10 years from now, what would the conversation look like?
I'm not sure I can swear, but the long story short, the long and the short of it would be, you're doing this still? Congratulations, you got some balls, but I mean,
oh, that's awesome.
That's good, man. That's good.
So, for everybody out there who's learning about you for the first time, why should they come on to Geeks Talking?
This show is about you. This show is about your passion as a creative person. This show is about showcasing your talents, whether it's writing, whether it's art, whether it's publishing, whether it's as an editor, whether it's as an actor, an actress, director, whatever the case may be, is showcasing you as a person. Because while you have your own platforms to promote it on, you don't have the same reach that this show has. Right. Because I've been able to connect with so many people in so many different industries, it gives you a wider range for coming on the show. And plus, I'm not going to ask too many invasive questions. I mean, I'll ask the questions necessary, but you want to go on a tangent for 15 minutes about why your art teacher was so passionate about your work when you were in university, go for it. I don't care. I think it's an amazing story that many other people will probably have experienced. Will I cut it down to about 5 or so minutes? Probably, but we'll see.
Right. Yeah, that's the editing part of it, right? That's the editing part of it.
For the most part, I don't edit their answers down. The most thing that I clean up is the ums and the ahs and the long spaces that break up a thought process. So
right. Yeah. So now there's another part of that question, right? So we always talk about if I knew then what I know now. So if the Kurt Sasso today went back to the Kurt Sasso who was starting the podcast, what would you tell him?
As much as I'd like to say, find your voice, if it wasn't for the experiences I had leading up to me finding my voice, I don't think it would have flown. I think what I would have said is, create an intro, find a process that's not 2 hours long that works in terms of interviewing. And for the love of God, get off TalkShoe and find something else.
Yeah, because you had options, and I'm surprised that you didn't do gaming streaming.
I think for me, that probably would have been better. I probably would have been like a gamer with blue hair or something like that, sniping all the fools or something. I don't
Right.
know. No, I think for me is because I was, and I still am. I mean, once a geek, always a geek. Like, no matter what age you are, you will never get rid of your passion for gaming or comics or whatever it is. And for me, with an addictive personality that I do have, I would have focused so much on gaming that I don't think streaming would have been able to happen. So I think I chose the better of the two alternatives in talking with people and giving myself a break from games.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yes.
I loved being on your show. I think we had a great conversation. I think everyone who's listening, if you haven't checked out Two Geeks Talking, the link is in the summary. Go check it out. And if you're a creator out there and you haven't been on his show, it's worth it. Especially if you don't have a problem talking about yourself.
But Sam does not, Kurt. Sam does not have a problem talking about himself. So,
You're next. But you're next. So, I mean,
you're gonna have to dig. You're gonna have to dig, Kurt. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Okay, challenge accepted on that.
Yeah, what's funny about like the interview or interviewing people, and for those watching who may want to go on shows, that is the time for you to promote yourself as an artist, as a creator, as a person. I think that you have to look at these interviews, as an opportunity, almost like a job interview, right? If you're trying to sell your book, yourself, you have to come off like the type of person who you want to support in that endeavor. When you're sitting there and you're asking me a question, I'm like, yeah, okay. So
that's rough.
I don't know. Like it doesn't help. It doesn't help.
Especially when the guests say, "Why are you asking me these questions?"
Didn't you get the memo? Like, come on. Have you not looked at who's been on in the past?
Yeah. There was a list of questions I would answer, and that's not on that.
That's not on that. You're asking too many questions. What are you, the FBI?
But so I think that's part of the process. You know what I mean? And the more you do it, I don't know that it gets easier, but the more you understand, okay, that's what has to happen. And I think, and I saw the interview you guys did. Which prompted me to reach out to you because I really enjoyed the interview. So
yeah, it's one of the better interviews that I've been on.
Yeah, for those watching, make sure that you check it out. Kurt knows how to ask the questions that really sparks just that conversation. That
your voice is made for radio.
It's very soothing. You're like, yes, I will answer anything you want.
It's like the male version of Delilah. You ever heard Delilah?
Look, I'm not going to sing on your show no matter how much you ask.
No. Have you ever heard that lady, that Delilah, who announces all the love songs? This is Delilah, 103 point whatever. All the love songs. She has the best female VJ voice, whatever. And like your voice is made for radio. I mean, it's just. I'm like, damn, that voice is cheap.
It's like I want that voice.
There's a couple of things that I can say that I've done well in my life. I'm alive, first off. Genetics have screwed me because I'm 5'3", and that I have a good radio voice apparently because I actually worked at a call center for a number of years, and I even had an angry person from Jamaica, and even he was saying, "Man, I love your voice." So it's like, okay, I guess I'm doing something right.
Right, it's disarming, right? It's relaxing and soothing. Yeah, like, it's like. You can like if you were a therapist, you'd make a lot of money. I mean, you could do audiobooks. It's like there's a lot of things you could do, buddy.
Like Kurt,
what was it that Fraser Crane used to say? I'm listening. There you go.
Oh man, for sure.
They're bringing Fraser back.
Are they?
Yes, yes, really? and it's violent. I didn't know Fraser was. He's going after his brother.
Oh, okay.
I have to admit, that was creative editing. That was very well done.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
is that a spoof or is it legit?
No, that was a spoof.
Yeah,
I was like, man, he's going after his brother, and it's crazy.
Yeah, good times. No, I've been very fortunate. I'm glad that I'm able to do this. I'm glad that I am able to talk with amazing people like yourselves. Like George, you're next for sure. We'll see what goes on with our quick interview.
Good luck with that one.
Look, I mean, hey, you're gonna have to come, prepared there
I know.
with
Jeez.
the answers, but I think you'll do all right. I mean, you've done well with Sam all these years as well too. You got a great talent yourself. You'll be fine.
Thank you, Kurt. But listen, and thank you for being on the show, man. I know you're a busy guy. I know you have tons of stuff going on. So you taking time out to come in here and just talk to us about your process and your story. This was fun. Definitely come back. Definitely come back.
Hey, whenever you need a host, rather co-host, if one of you guys decides to, you need a day off or whatever, I'll be happy to pop in.
There you go.
But no, I'll be happy to be a guest anytime for you guys. You do a wonderful show, truly, and please keep up the amazing work that you do.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being on the show. And again, guys, check it out. The channel link is in the summary. Head over there. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, do so as well. Especially if you're going to be a guest on the show. Make sure you show some love in return and subscribe to the channel.
Subscribe for sure.
Let's try to get to 1,000 people for the end of the year. Like, come on, like I'm almost at 600. Let's go.
Oh, it's I mean, I was ebbs and flows. We get them, we lose them. We get them, we lose them. I think it's the best. They subscribe when they come on, and then they unsubscribe after they air. I'm like, what the hell? I'll find you. I'm going to find you. I have a unique set of skills. But yes, but thank you again, Kurt, for being on the show. We appreciate you. Mikasa, Sukasa, you're welcome back anytime.
Donka, appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, too, Kurt. You too. Awesome.
Yes, that was Kurt Sasso. And if you haven't checked it out, check out his channel. It's a fantastic, great host. Great host. You're in good hands on his show. Even talking today, I love the conversation.
Yeah, no, he's an awesome guy, man. Awesome guy. Like you said, very, very soothing, very chill, just laid back. You know what I mean? So and that's tough. It's tough to do that many interviews, that many shows.
Yeah,
it's a skill, man. So big shout out to Kurt. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you guys for watching and subscribing and being on the show and checking us out.
And Johnny Boy popping in. I mean, he's been MIA for a minute.
Yeah, Johnny's been MIA indeed.
Yeah, man. I'm like, where's he at? I thought I was gonna have to set some bail money because I haven't heard from him in a hot minute. He hasn't been in our chats, DMs, nothing.
You're working man, bro.
Yeah. So Michael Sammartino and Hannah Strauss and Grant Lankard, and he's another one who's on fire. He has like 1 billion people signed up for his launch of his campaign, Beowulf.
Ready, guys.
Yeah, he's getting ready, and so a lot of things happening. But we definitely do appreciate everybody. If you haven't done so already, we would love for you to subscribe. We love to get to 1,000. Again, like Kurt said, this isn't free. We know everything is an expense, and we love to get monetized to try to offset these costs. And your subscription, which doesn't cost you anything, gets us closer to being able to do that. And we would appreciate your support in return. And then tomorrow night we got a double feature. We got a double header. We got Rodney Fike of Roadkill Rampage, and then we have Sebastian Bonet, and 1/3 of the Nerds of the Round will be on tomorrow night. And then Thursday morning we got another episode of the Morning Brew. It's a chock-packed full week. We're excited. And then Saturday we got Tech the Gods on What's in the Box. So and then yesterday we had the Craze Nintendo Less.
And we have a show on Friday. That's not live, but it'll air on Friday.
Yes, we have a guest airing on Friday.
Yeah.
In fact, what was the name of that guest on Friday? I'll let you guys know right now. I think it's Dwayne Moore.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think it might be Dwayne Moore.
Yeah, we're gonna have some good stuff coming down the pike. So make sure you subscribe. Keep subscribing. Tell a friend. Share it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up for the launch of There's an Alien on My Toilet issue number 3 Aichi while we're launching on the 20th of September. The goal is to get to 100 signups before we launch. And if you've been watching the live drawing streams every day, Duty has been going on an adventure, traveling the world, trying to find supporters for the campaign. And so help Duty. Let's make this one the biggest one yet. And, we're getting close. We're getting real close to that 100 mark.
There you go. That's all I got tonight, Sammy.
That's all I got. Again, this was another episode of Catch the Craze podcast. You know, we are the Indie Creators podcast. With that said, I'm Sam the Crazy Man Vera.
George the Dreamer Medina.
And we are out.
It's just easy. It's not.
Acquiesce.
No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. Say my name, right?
This is what you were thinking? Oh,
He described me. He said, I'm the
What? Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. To Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze on Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.